You're not going to help me out here at all, are you? That's the art track. This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac, Jack, and Jim This Week in Sports Show. We're live every Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, legendary boxing writer, Hall of Famer Jack Hirsch, and the legend himself, two-time Super Bowl champion, the best Dallas Cowboy defensive end in the history of the Cowboys, Jim Jeffcoat. How you fellows doing today?
I'm really doing well because New York Yankees are in first place.
Yes.
Dallas Mavericks are playing a game second. The only thing that get me down, and it's because of Pags, Philadelphia is out of the playoffs, and 76ers. So,
well, they're my Yankees too, even though I didn't pick them to do much.
There we go. I think you said they were going to just be under 500. If I can
Yankee card has been voided for this year, Jack. As you have,
it's got a long way to go, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping you guys give it to me at the end of the season.
Oh, I will be giving it to you all season, Jack. So we're live today, folks. Roku TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and our guest today will be Keith Angle, TGI Sports Talk host, who will be filling us in on some Islanders, Yankees, and Patriots news. We also have on Robert Butler, who always gives us updates and stories on the biggest stories in sports. He'll be in about 8:30. The Philly sports guy, Jamie Pags, will be in with his Philly connection on about 9. And we have a special guest coming at 9:30. The head coach of the semi-pro football team, Connecticut Falcons, head coach Tom Chesky, will be in. He'll talk about the Falcons a little bit and spend a half hour with us as we finish up on This Week in Sports. So, guys, let's get to the NBA really quick and talk a little bit about what's going on over there, right? Right now, we have the Celtics who stretched it to Game 7. We'll talk more about it with Pags and that, and with Robert because of the Philadelphia side of the story. But the Celtics come back Game 6, played against the Bucks, last year's champions, and find a way to get it done. And I think what this is, guys, is just a will of a good basketball team with a couple of great players on it against the will of a very good basketball team with a superstar on it. And I don't know. I picked the Bucks to win the playoffs before it started, and I'm going to stick with that pick. But God, them Celtics are good guys.
That's good you had that pick, Mac, because my picks were long gone. The Nets and the Clippers in the finals. Okay. So, but how many times have we seen it happen in sports, guys? One team is up 3-2, best 4 out of 7, and they're going home. And they feel they have a cushion. They feel they have a comfort zone, and they're not playing it like it's an elimination game. And that's what you got the feeling with the Bucks and the Celtics in Game 6. The Bucks were far too dependent on Giannis. Celtics took the initiative from the beginning, and now we have a Game 7. And that's going to be a tough game for the Bucks to win at Boston because the crowd's really going to be into it.
But this is an interesting series when you talk about the Bucks and the Celtics. Is these two teams have won more games on the other opponent's court than anywhere else in the series. Because you look at the Mavericks, they won all their home games. And you look at Golden State, they won in Memphis, but they also won home games. to close it out. This is a little bit unique, and that's the thing you have to look at. So I think the Bucks can do it. I'm staying with the Bucks. It's going to be a 1 or 2 point game, I think, but it's going to be a heck of a game. If Giannis can get anybody to help him, they're going to win this game. Because like you said, Matt, Giannis might be the best player in the world right now. He's a combination of players. He's like Hakeem Olajuwon, and because he's so athletic. But he can play within the paint like a Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, he does things that are unique for a guy that height, 6'11".
Yeah, I agree with it. The Warriors, they wrap it up beating the Grizzlies. Listen, the Grizzlies gave it everything they had. The Warriors, I thought would win the series because of the veteran leadership. But I'm telling you right now, that Grizzly team has got to be one of the favorites to win the championship next year, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, don't be so sure about that. I'm going to tell you why. Sometimes we think a team is ready to take the next step. They're on the verge of big things. We thought that about the Minnesota Timberwolves like 2-3 years ago. The Timberwolves had a double-digit leads over the Grizzlies in 3 of the games they let get away in the fourth period. This is going to be a more mature Timberwolf team next year who's not likely to blow those type of leads. And what are the chances of the Grizzlies playing so well in the absence of Jay Morant the way they did? I don't want to say it's a bit of an aberration, but I think the Grizzlies went as far as they can go with this cast of players they have. I don't look for them to necessarily improve next year.
I disagree because I think the Grizzlies are a young team. I think they were the youngest team in the playoffs. And what Ja Morant has to do is this year, like the LeBrons, the Michael Jordans, he has to really look at everything in his training so he can stay healthy. The next thing is I don't think a team from the West is going to win it. I think the reason I'm saying a team from the East, if it's Boston and Milwaukee, or Miami, is because of defense. We talk about in every sport, these are elite defenses that are on the Eastern side. On the Western side, you got great. If you watch the Memphis Golden State game, they were shooting threes. Like they're not going to be able to do that against these teams from the East. They're going to be right up on them, and they're going to force the refs to make the calls because they're going to play them tight defense. They're not going to back off.
I would agree. So we have the Warriors and the Suns coming up, guys. Any predictions on that series?
Easy now, slow your roll.
I mean, Suns should win by double digits today, but Mac, that's a little unfair.
Oh, that's
I
the
want to ask for prediction in advance.
Listen,
Mac asks everything in advance.
there is no way.
Yes, Dad.
There is no way. Listen, I love the Dallas Mavericks. I love what they've done. There was no way they beat the Suns in the Game 7. I'm telling you that straight up.
I'm going to put that down in record.
Go ahead.
Said,
Go ahead.
because I think the Mavericks have played the Suns really well. The biggest issue the Mavericks have is that they have not won in Phoenix in 12 games.
Right. Where are they playing?
They have played Chris Paul better than anybody else. And that's it. Because you remember he was the point guard.
Where are they playing this last game?
They're playing in Phoenix. But if they can control Chris Paul and make him do the things that he did in these previous games, they got a chance. Booker's going to get his points. And we know that. And Crowder is off and on. In the center is another issue. It's going to be a better game. It's going to be a great game to watch. I mean, both games are going to be great.
I give Dallas all the credit in the world for doing what they did because they should. To me, Phoenix was just a better team. But anyway, they lose this next one, Jim. There's no way.
Jim, you never know.
Desperation plays a large part in sports at times. And Phoenix has to be desperate because if they lose this game, this season's been a failure. No window starts closing towards winning a championship.
True.
Dallas, if they lose this game, they could say they still had a decent year. They took a step forward. They took Phoenix to 7 games. that their window is gently opening very slowly.
Let me tell you a story, Jack.
Rapidly if they lose.
Dallas is like the Cowboys in the 90s, the first Super Bowl.
Oh, come on.
We were a year away. But we won the year we weren't supposed to win. We were a year away. So I think Dallas can win this game.
No, Jim, I remember your team. No, Jim.
Wait, Jack. Jack, we're not going to go back. We're not going to go back to the 90s right now.
The one when you were supposed to win.
Let's get Keith Angle from TGI Sports on for his designated spot, Jack. Let's see what Keith has to say about a few things around here in the local sports area. Keith Angle, TGI Sports, one of the best in the business. Let's bring him up.
Good morning, guys. I love coming in and jumping into this time warp. It's awesome.
Yes. I know Jack will take a conversation to the bitter end.
No, I had to correct Jim about his own team, about Jim's own team. I had to
correct Jim about the Dallas Cowboys. I love it.
It's going to get ugly on June 27th, I can tell you.
Oh, man.
So, Keith, I want to start it off with hockey and Trotz and the Islanders. The record under Trotz was terrible in the beginning. He brings it back. They finish over 500. The last 2 years, they've been in the semifinals, the conference finals, in the playoffs the year before that. And I've been talking a lot lately about coaches who, even that are doing very well, are successful, getting fired because they don't win a championship. Now, I understand the fans want a championship. The owner wants a championship. Everybody wants a championship. But it's very far and few in between coaches that come in there in their first, second year and win championships. It just rarely happens. So I don't want to say it's a raw deal because maybe that's the wrong terminology. But isn't the GM as much his fault as this year's team as the coach?
Yeah, absolutely. You look, there's some parallels with the Knicks and the Islanders in my mind, right? Barry Trotz is, I think, the third winningest coach in NHL history. So he knows how to win games and do something right. And Lou Lamoriello's done a good job, certainly through his career as well. But, similar to the Knicks and the way Leon Rose put their roster together, Lamoriello's got to take some responsibility for the way this team has digressed this year. I understand, at the end of the day, the coach has got to motivate the players to win games, and somebody's going to take the fall. But I'm regardless of a situation I have of my own of a guy that I wanted to remove, I'm never a proponent of just removing a guy for the sake of removing it. If you don't have a better option, why are you making the move in the first place? And I don't see where the Islanders are going to get a better coach than Barry Trotz. He'll have a job in 5 minutes when the playoffs are over.
If he wants it, he can have a job tomorrow.
If he wants it, right.
Yeah.
But he fired five guys. Lou Lamoriello, the GM of the Islanders, when he was the GM of the Devils, he had 8 coaches in 16 years. He fired 3 Stanley Cup winning coaches during that period.
That's a good point. Good point, Jack. Yeah,
it is a good point.
But you know what?
Keith, I've said this before. If that's the way owners were, there would have never been a Tom Landry. There would have never been a Chuck Noll. There might not have been a Bill Parcells. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about legendary Hall of Fame coaches that have done things that no other coaches in the history of sports have done.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, if he worked for Amarillo right now, he might be fired. So this is what I'm talking about. I think that we've gone too far swung the pendulum too far in the other direction. Okay. I understand it. Mike Tomlin hasn't won a Super Bowl in how many years? I don't know why that makes him a coach that you would want to get rid of.
No, he's been consistent. And, the Steelers are the model for consistency. They've had 3 coaches in 52 years or something. Yeah. That's amazing. When you look at the Lamoriello's track records and George Steinbrenner's track record, and there's a whole bunch of other guys we can throw in there, I'm sure. The Cowboys went through their own era of that, right? So
what have you done for me lately, Keith? Hypothetically, and this is possible, if the Patriots go 6-11 this season, 6-11, 7-10, which is a possibility. Is Belichick's job in danger?
Only if he wants it to be. He'll be there till he wants to walk away. Bob Kraft could never fire him. The fan reaction would just be devastating in my mind. I don't think you can fire him.
I think it'll be done behind the scenes.
He'll want to spend more time with his family. And
that's what it is. I think Bob Kraft will go to him and say, "Hey, Bill, it's time.
Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass you. I want you to step down and say you want to spend time." Or, his girlfriend is 30 years old. Shoot.
Yeah, he's probably needs a rest. Probably.
Wow. Maybe that's what's wrong with him. You never know. So let's turn to the Yankees real quick here, Keith. Of course, they're having a great season. It's very early, but there is a sample now out there. And the hitting's been good. The pitching has been good. If you were to choose which area that's really the reason why the Yankees are winning, would you say it's the offense or it's the pitching?
I would say it's the defense myself. They were one of the worst defensive teams in baseball last year, and right now it's 6 weeks in. They're not quite 6 weeks in, but they're one of the best. So, and again, pitching may play into that somewhat, but I think the defense is what's really turned them around. Getting consistent play at shortstop and getting the plays made that need to be played. Aaron Hicks, he's in a bit of an offensive slump, but he's playing good center field, and that outfield defense is really good. As much as we get on Joey Gallo for his faults, he's a good defensive outfielder. You got Hicks and Judge. That's a great defensive outfield, and Rizzo is a field general out there with that infield, and the catching you can't also. Obviously, the catching is much better as well. So to me, it's the defense.
Keith, I want to ask
when
you
Body
a
comes
question.
back.
Yeah. Do you think it's their health? This is the healthiest they've been.
Oh yeah, I mean, health
think that's what's
plays a
making-
big deal. Health
Yeah.
plays a big deal in this, and
Oh yeah, and that's
You
what
know.
I think is helping them more than anything is having these guys playing every day.
yeah. And I don't know if it's a luck thing or whether they've changed their training regimen a little bit or what. But I mean, again, you haven't seen Judge or Stanton or anybody miss any
That's
significant
what I'm
time
saying. Yeah.
due to injury. So that's going to be a big factor in whether this continues. And the pitching too, dude. To Mac's point about the pitching's been great. Starting pitchers, I think, have the best ERA in baseball. But health is going to play into that as well. If Severino can stay healthy, it lengthens this rotation, and there's a lot of factors at play here. Situational hitting is better. Everything's better. All the things I complained about. I had to do a vlog Friday. Again, it's a small sample size, but we're getting, 35 games into the season. I had to do a little mea culpa because I didn't have this team making the playoffs, and all the things that I complained about have been better here. So I'll give them credit.
I'll just let you know, as I let Jack know, your Yankees card is void this year too.
Last year, the Atlanta Braves struggled all year. The team I picked to win the World Series, and they won the World Series. Hold on, Mac. 35. You buried Garrett Cole not long ago. Remember?
I said he stunk. He stunk, and he did
That's
stink.
burying him. That would be burying him. Yes.
When you stink, you stink. I call you out. I mean, that's
Well, wait a minute. Back up. So you took my Yankee card away for calling out the Yankees for the things that are wrong. I want to be wrong in my opinion, which I said in my vlog Friday. I always root with the Yankees. I always root to be wrong.
I also said the Yankees would win their conference, and you guys kind of laughed at me. So
Jeff Codas looking
yeah.
back wasn't in charge of analyzing the Cowboys, because if you didn't have a sack for the first two games, Mac would be talking about replacing you when you win your
Hey, get him out the pasture. He's done.
listen.
What's the amazing stat? I think.
Wait, Keith, go ahead after this. If I paid Jim Jeffcoat $36 million a year and he didn't have 2 sacks, he might be gone. Never mind. I'd send him out.
Well, that happened with the Mets with Canal, right? They paid him. They gotta have to pay him guaranteed $35 million.
Right. So Jim's got a guaranteed contract. He's going to say, "Let me go." Listen, one of the most surprising things is the Yankees start, obviously, but the fact that they're 11 games ahead of the Red Sox right now is stunning.
That is surprising. That is stunning.
Well, I don't know if it's stunning or not, but anyway, so the Yankees look good. The Mets are winning every series. The New York teams right now in baseball are looking very good.
Yeah.
Hopefully that transfers over to football soon. We'll see. Keith, speaking of football, I got to get to your Patriots and your Hall of Fame quarterback, Mac Jones, who Keith now thinks, who he didn't want in the beginning of the year, now feels that in 10 years.
Well, beginning of the year I did. In draft time I did.
Pro Bowl quarterback.
Right. Well, no, Keith thinks he's going to be a Hall of Famer before he even retires, is how good Mac Jones is now. So the Patriots, not only do they got a tougher AFC East division, but outside their schedule, Keith, Ravens and the AFC North and what is that's Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, Browns, and I think you guys got a couple other teams thrown in there for good measure. What do you think?
It's a tough. Well, look, it's a tough schedule when you look at it today, but we don't know how tough the schedules are until they get played out, right? In reality, yeah, they're going to have to be on top of their game. And the big thing for all the AFC East teams is nobody's going 6-0 in the division anymore like the Patriots did for 20 years. It's not going to happen, and you're going to have to be much more successful outside of your division schedule. So, look at this team has got to play smart football. Mac Jones has got to continue to improve. As much as I herald Mac Jones since I became a convert, thank you, Jack. He's got to continue to improve and take the step forwards that he needs to take. And I think he's a hard worker, and I think he will. And I think they've gotten him some weapons that will help him improve his game. Play defense.
Go ahead, Jack.
Why would the Patriots draft a quarterback in the 4th round where you could still get value in the 4th round of the draft unless Belichick has just a little bit doubts about Mac Jones? I kind of wonder about that.
I don't think he's got doubts about Mac Jones. I do think that's a head scratcher. And if he had doubts about Mac Jones, I don't think this is the kid that he'd be taking. But I'm not really. I've been reading and looking for more information on this kid and why they may have done this, and I really haven't got myself a good answer yet.
Well, they did make a trade with the Raiders, right?
They did trade Stidham to the Raiders, yes. So again, quarterback depth, but 4th round is a little, to Jack's point, a little bit early maybe to be taking your 3rd string quarterback.
Yeah, and the question I was going to ask you about this schedule for New England, this actually plays to New England their strength because the type of defense they play, the type of offense they play, they're not playing super explosive defenses out of league or offenses out of their division, as opposed to when they're playing the Kansas Cities and teams like that, the Rams that are explosive offenses. And the most explosive offense might be Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, but they handle him. So I
think Cincinnati can throw the ball pretty
good. Cincinnati can, but I'm not saying they can't. But the style of defense that New England, they can control it. They can control Cincinnati. Well, I agree that Cincinnati is a heck of a team.
Yeah, they've got to be better on defense, even because they've made some. You look at the Bills had no running game last year, and the Bills ran a ball all up and down their throat last year in the last couple games they played.
But if you remember the first game, New England controlled them because you remember they kept running the ball and they kept pounding it, and it was a terrible day.
The 70-mile-an-hour wind probably played to their advantage.
That's what I'm saying is that the teams they play are more like what New England likes to play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they'll have a very good season. Whether they'll take that big step forward and win the division, I don't know.
I don't think they will.
Really good.
Yeah,
that division's going to be a monster. The Jets are going to get better this year.
Can the Jets beat out anyone in that division?
I'm sorry, Jack.
The Jets beat out anyone. If New England's going to have a good year, that means there's Miami and Buffalo. And the Jets aren't going to beat out Buffalo this year.
I think they could. There's a chance they could beat out Miami, I think. I don't know if it'll happen. I think the Jets will take a step forward. That doesn't mean I think they're going to win 10 games, but I think they'll be much, much better and more competitive than they were last year. And in 2 years, watch out. This division is going to be a monster.
Well, Carlos says if the Bills don't beef up the line, Dolphins and Patriots will come out of the East. That's totally ridiculous. First of all. Buffalo's a
Carlos is nailing stuff, Mac. He said Barry Trotz would be fired, and we laughed at him when he said
right.
Well, geez, if I say things over and over 10,000 times, eventually I'm going to be right.
Yeah, eventually you get a broken clock is right twice a day, Jeff. You know,
Sorry,
it's funny,
Carlos.
it's funny that you mentioned the Dolphins might be the team that loses a step. I think the Patriots might lose a step, and the Jets might slide by the Patriots. How's that?
Fair enough. I mean, look at teams do take steps backwards. I go back to when the Patriots here go with Jack into the time machine now. When they drafted Drew Bledsoe, and I think in their second year they made the playoffs, went like 10-6, made the playoffs, and the next year they were atrocious. So sometimes younger teams take a step backwards. Especially when you have a young quarterback. So it's possible that they'll have a step back this year before they get really good after that.
I wince when you take me back there because the number 2 pick in the draft was Rick Myra, quarterback. And I hope that's not Zach Wilson isn't the next Rick Myra drafted in the same position.
For all those who wanted Bill Parcells to be able to shop for the groceries, let's remember he wanted Rick Meyer instead of Drew Bledsoe.
I tell Mac that all the time.
I think Robert Saleh is building this team that's similar to what San Francisco did, the 49ers, and that's what he's trying to do. And it's smart. It's really smart what he's doing, because if you look at some of the players they got players in positions that can contribute early.
Yeah.
And that's the thing the Jets have done. Now, New England, and they're similar to the old Tom Landry teams. They've been good for so long, but at some point, you're not going to get the top scale players. You're going to get players that are good, but you don't see it. It's all about drafting now and the recruiting and bringing in players that fit your scheme.
Well, the contract situations out there too hurt the Patriots because they don't want to pay people either. That's the other problem. So.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh didn't. Hey, Pittsburgh really doesn't pay anybody either.
That's true. That's true.
Listen, Jim, I'm gonna tell you straight up. You just saved them from getting their microphones turned off by bad mouthing Bill Parcells, the greatest NFL player.
It took that long for you to slap me. I can't believe it took that long for you to slap me.
Oh my God! What a couple of haters! I swear to God, just because Belichick has always been in Parcells' shadow and always will be, Keith has. He's a great coach.
How can Belichick be in Parcells? All those Super Bowls he's won, Parcells has never won a Super Bowl without Belichick.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
I can't believe it. Mute me, but I'm telling you the truth.
Don't remember Bill Parcells on the sideline.
You have told me the truth, but Bill Parcells has done something no other coach in the history of NFL has done. Bring 2 different teams from the AFC and the NFC to the Super Bowl and bring 2 AFC teams and 2 NFC teams to a championship. So, I mean, you guys can talk back as all you want, but
name me one of those teams he didn't leave in total disarray when he walked out the door, by the way.
Real quick, Jack, I will turn off your mic. I'm just kidding. I know he's going to correct me in the championship, but that's okay. Folks, we got to let Keith go. We love having fun with him. Check him out on TGI Sports, one of the best shows on the network. Does a great job, great information, great hosts, great interviews. So we'll let Keith go. And coming up next, right in behind him, is Robert Butler. We're all familiar with each other. Another great host over here on Northeast Streaming Sports. Keith, thank you. I love having you on, my friend.
Have a great Sunday, guys. Always fun. Always fun.
All right. So there you go, folks. Keith Engel, TGI Sports. Our next guest just knows about the biggest stories in sports and covers them meticulously. I use that word. I was looking for a word. It's meticulously. Robert Butler, to me, is one of the premier hosts on the network, has a lot of information, a lot of opinions. So let's bring up the host of Sports Talk himself, Robert Butler.
Hey, morning, guys.
Hey, good morning, sir.
All right.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Robert, you look a little dark with the shirt and tie and everything. You're not giving enough play to the jacket. You're not giving enough play to that shirt, Robert. I mean, you look like the Avenger of something here, and I'm not sure what that is right now. What?
I don't know, man. Late start.
So Robert, let's get to some of the topics. Okay, all right. Your hair looks impeccable, though. I just want to let you know that
Appreciate
because
it.
I have a little, and my other two hosts have none at all. So you got a big advantage there. So let's get to the 76ers
Yeah.
a little bit. We're going to cover what Pags too from the Philadelphia side. But I mean, where do they go from here? Here's a team that has one of the most dominant basketball players in the NBA, period. I mean, he's in the top 3 easy. They pick up Harden, which was, they thought would help out the team a lot. They got a good young star in Tyrese Maxey, who kind of didn't show up at the end. I mean, what do the 76ers do? They could sign Harden back, wait for him to come around and accept an offer. I don't know how many teams would be shopping for James Harden right now. But the 76ers, say from here into next year, what do you think they'll do?
Well, Harden has a player option. Okay, it's $47 million. That's his call. If he opts out of that player option, then he becomes a free agent. They can sign him to a max. I, guys, would not do that. I don't, for all the money in the world, all the criticism, there's no way I would do that. And I think Philadelphia fans would just, man, they were going to get heat if they do that. So there's a chance that Harden can essentially, guys, just play on this $47 million player option and prove himself next year. Mind you that remember Ben Simmons was out most of the year. They didn't make that Harden trade until right at the deadline to get him in there. And Maxey, remember, he's only like 21 years old.
Yes.
And everything I read about Doc Rivers, Morey's wanting to keep him this year, although maybe that's, that could be a smoke signal. I don't know for sure. And everything I read about Morey, his job is safe as far as the organization. Now, all that can change. Now, if Philadelphia, if Harden for whatever reason decides to opt out of that player option, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, they're out there. And if I'm Philadelphia, I would take a chance and go after them that free up that cap space. There's a chance they can add guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, also as role players, Eric Gordon, Kelly Olynyk. These are some of the articles that I researched. They can get that in a trade from who's the guy that tore his ACL, guys? Green, right? Danny Green.
Yes.
They'll be able to work out something in a Danny Green trade. This is realistically, because now it's not like the NFL. You have these guaranteed contracts. Your contracts have to match up. So that's my take. My guess is maybe Harden does play on that $46 million and he proves it contract, and they just run it back and add some role players like I just mentioned, Eric Gordon and KCP.
Now here's my
Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is Embiid is a great player, and you guys.
Oh yeah, Embiid, yeah.
But if you notice, in crucial times, there are injuries with Embiid, and that's scary. If that's what you're going to build your team around, when the playoffs come, is he going to be healthy? And he plays hard, and he plays good. I mean, he plays well, but is he going to be healthy? Is this going to be the face of your franchise?
You know what I think they need, Jim, and I don't know where they're going to get it. They need an enforcer the way the Pistons used to have with Rick Mahorn, because when you see Embiid get knocked to the ground continuously, he needs someone beside him that's really tough, that's going to do the dirty work, be real physical, and take the heat off Embiid that way.
To throw a wild card in there, they may possibly – Daryl Morey is – he's a big stakes gambler. Could he trade Embiid? I don't know who you could get for him. I mean, because I don't know if you get equal value, but you're right, Jim.
Kyrie Irving.
Oh, wow. I think Jamie just had another heart attack.
Jack just says anything.
But what were you saying? I wanted to hear this.
Well, I think Embiid, maybe Morey shops him, but I don't know for who.
That's true.
But Morey, he's crazy like that. Now he's kind of running out of credibility himself because he put this whole thing together, and he was kind of ran out of town there in Houston.
But Rob, what happens if Harden calls Murray's bluff and he insists on a max contract? You wouldn't give it to him. I wouldn't give it to him. I don't think anyone here would give it to him. That means chances are they'd lose Harden. But keep in mind, Harden was with Murray at Houston.
Yeah.
So he remembers that version of the superstar Harden. And maybe he's thinking he can be close to that player again, come to camp and shape. Maybe he sees something in Harden's character that we don't. So, I mean, how does that play out if Harden insists on the max deal?
Yeah. I would offer him half of that, maybe.
And listen, that's not going to happen.
They may run Morey out of town if he pays that max.
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he
There's
would be
no
all
question,
right.
man. How old is Harden?
He's like 32.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. They're not going to do that.
He's still a good player, guys. He's just not the James Harden we knew. He's still a good player. If he wasn't
So he's
getting
not-
paid a lot of money and he was younger, we'd say he was a good player.
And Embiid said something very interesting. He said that obviously he's not the player he's been in the past.
Yeah.
And he has to change his game to being a playmaker instead of a scorer. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I heard that too, Jim. And I think maybe now Harden, he did play some point with the Nets. I mean, I think the league is tired of guys like Kyrie Irving and James Harden, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, you
I
know
agree.
something. You know something. I think Embiid's just talking. I mean, he's got to do what he's good at, right? He's going to start being a playmaker too. That's going to take away from his scoring and his rebounding. I think there's certain players that do certain things better than excellent. Embiid does two things better than excellent that makes him stand out. He starts taking on a different role. That's going to take away from different parts of his game. I don't know if that makes sense. Carlos says trade to Anthony Davis straight up.
No.
So you take a guy who's injured all the time
That's what I'm
For a
saying.
guy who's injured all the time.
and
I mean,
replace him.
that's not
That's
good.
not even realistic. So, but since it's Carlos, I love this to show how foolish he can be sometimes.
I'll tell you right now, and remember, you can mark this. The team that's going to be scary next year is the Pelicans. Watch.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Good,
Yeah, those-
good
I
call.
thought you were going to
Jimmy.
say Memphis.
You're basing that on Zion Williamson coming back and being healthy and being in great form.
Exactly.
Right. I kind of agree with you. Good call. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim. Great call. Great call. So the Pelicans don't scare me at all. They're big fat birds that don't do anything. Robert,
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, right? Nike's. I just read that Nike's going to drop him or thinking seriously about dropping him for endorsing him. Of course, the GM came out and said he wanted players that are available and that put the team first. So that's surely not Kyrie Irving. If everything works out the way it looks like, that Kyrie's not going to be back with the Nets, is there any crazy team out there that's going to take a chance on bringing him in just because he can score once in a while when it gets hot?
Oh, there's always somebody out there that will do that. I would, as another guy, there's no way. He's 30, by the way. He's a little younger than Harden. There's no way under the sun I give him a max contract. Being 30 years old, not a great defensive player. Yes, he's going to give you 20 to 20, 25, 27 a game. Maybe. And also, he's got one of those player options. Does Brooklyn, if he opts out and they don't offer him, do they go after Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal?
Bradley Beal was badly injured at the end of last year, so I don't know would the team be that anxious to go after him and pick up that type of contract.
Well, everything's going to be pending on the physical. If you're doing your homework, which I'm not sure the Nets did on Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons will be back for training camp. He had a procedure done.
Yes, he did. And it might end up
possibly
being a
they run
better
it back
trade
too,
for the
guys.
Nets. Then
Huh?
it might be Ben Simmons might be better in the trade than Harden is because
Yes.
you only got Harden for a couple of months, where you can have Ben Simmons for a couple of years. And I'm
And
not
Steph
saying,
Curry was good, Jim, too,
Yeah.
with them.
yeah.
Maybe they run it back. Maybe both of these teams just run it back next year, unfortunately. I don't think there's a chance, guys, nothing happens. And both Philadelphia and Brooklyn keep the same players together because they didn't get that much time to gel after these trades.
Yeah.
Guys, we can't, they're not, the deals we propose usually aren't realistic because it's so hard to get equal value in these deals.
Yes.
But one deal that intrigues me, no one talks about, we talk about Kyrie Irving, him for Kawhi Leonard, even up 2 stars. I think both franchises are a little fed up with, their superstar players. The only drawback is Kyrie's an East Coast guy, so you're moving him to the West Coast. And Leonard is a West Coast guy, and you're moving him to the East Coast. So both guys wouldn't like that deal based on geography. But I think that's a pretty even deal.
Go ahead, Jim. I know you're going to
No,
talk
I
about
was just
the
going
health
to say, I
factor.
don't think that's going to happen.
No, well,
And
but
that's
that
what it
makes
is
sense,
because
though.
the problem with Kawhi is he is. He's won championships in San Antonio. He won it in Toronto. But you never know when he's going to show up. He might be out for the whole year because he got a hangnail.
Kyrie too, but Kyrie
Yeah.
too.
Pardon me?
So
Kyrie Irving too is unpredictable. That's a
Yes,
big
and I
deal.
agree with that. But Kyrie, there was reasons why he didn't play this year because of COVID rules. But he, for the most part, he is healthy. He is healthy for the most part. So I don't know if that's a trade that's going to happen. Like you said, Kyrie is different. I'm not saying he's not a great player when he plays, but he is a different character.
You know,
You never know.
Stephen A. Smith, guys, one of the most pro player people out there is saying he wouldn't be surprised the next CBA the owners shoot for a play for pay type of deal, less guaranteed contract. That's Stephen A. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's saying that, what's the rest of us thinking?
Yeah.
Guys like Kyrie Irving, they're pushing themselves out of town. They're not wanting to play because of this and that. I mean, they go MIA. I think the league is tired of that. I mean, I am. If it's my team, I wouldn't put up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll see what happens in other owners and organizations around the league this summer. Say we're not giving either one of these guys a max contract.
yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Pags said it may be called the Ben Simmons rule may be coming into effect because he's he just doesn't want to play because he doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
And whether it's mental issues or whether it's not, we don't know. But they're holding the teams hostage, and that may change big time coming in the next contract negotiations. Robert, the NFL schedule comes out. What would be your top 3 games? If you could go see 3 games in the NFL this year, what would they be?
Oh, number one is the very opening, the actual opening game Thursday, September 8th, Buffalo at the Rams. Von Miller coming back to L.A. Roger Saffold used to play for the Rams. Allen Robertson getting his debut there with that Rams team. By the way, the Rams got the toughest schedule in the league this year. Check this out. Teams with the number 1 ranked schedule as being the toughest, they're 1-4 as far as making the playoffs the last 5 years. The Rams are loaded. I do like the fact that they signed Bobby Wagner. They've got Allen Robertson. However, Andrew Whitworth, he is retired. They've got this guy, Joe Noteboom, filling in at left tackle.
He played last year. He's pretty good.
Yeah. And so he's going to be the permanent now left tackle. So I want to see that Buffalo game. This could be a Super Bowl preview. That's my number 1 game. Number 2, Kansas City, Tampa, round 3. This is Ali Frazier 3. I've talked to you, Mac, about in text about the upgrading of this Kansas City team over the past 2 years. Brett Veach, the general manager, is taking some kind of mental steroids. They look ready to get back into the action again. James Bradbury sitting out there. Tampa, what are you doing? Why don't you get former New York Giant cornerback to sign him? Possibly work out. Number 3, I'm out of Nashville. Tennessee is 0-2 against Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. They're playing here November 22nd, Jim. or 27th after Thanksgiving. Ryan Tannehill talk about
Yeah.
the Bengals play here, Jim. Yeah. And
definitely.
I would like to see Tennessee possibly get revenge on them. I don't know if they will. We'll see. Probably not, but Joe
I
Burrow's
thought you
a
were
better
going to
player.
say Dallas and Tennessee, December 29th.
Oh, Dallas, Tennessee. Yeah. I mean, Tennessee might not make the playoffs this year, guys. I mean, I'd call balls and strikes. I mean,
I
if
love
they
that.
don't win the division.
I
And
love that.
also, real
Go ahead.
quick, the Rams had the second toughest schedule last year. Look it up. And they did have the second, and they won the Super Bowl. So,
But they're number one this year, though, Jim.
Yeah.
What I
You never know
love.
what team is going to be at that point in the
Yeah,
season.
we know this is based
Yeah,
off.
yeah, come on.
But what I
Cincinnati,
love
Atlanta.
is
Jim. Jack.
Robert's top 3 games with all the great
I like
games out there. The Raiders and the Broncos and the Chargers, and he picks Tennessee. That just tells me
No, I like it. I like
that
it.
that Robert
Tennessee was the number one seed, and Cincinnati made the Super Bowl.
that Robert is still a great fan. So I love that, Robert. I'm not making fun of you at all. That's excellent. My top 3 is Giants against Dallas, Giants against the Eagles, and Giants against the Commandos. So there you go. Those are my top 3.
You in the Northeast area.
Oh my God. Anyway,
There's a lot of star power with Cincinnati. What are you talking
There's-
about?
sure is. There
Oh, wait,
sure
just Rob, yes and no. Will Malik Willis be starting before the year's out for Tennessee? Yes
No,
or no?
no. I think Tennessee. By the way, a rookie quarterback has never led a team to the Super Bowl. Remember, we settled that with.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
Tennessee's
yeah.
out of it. If Tennessee's not in the playoffs and they're out of it, that's what I mean.
He might. Hey, check this out, Jack. He may be starting at November 22nd, 7th game against Cincinnati. How about that?
Wow. You
There's a
heard it
chance.
there. Yeah, okay.
I
Yes,
just think with Derrick Henry, you are never out of it because he's
Yeah, if Henry stays healthy, Jim.
if he stays healthy,
Yeah.
Jim, Henry wasn't the same play in the playoff game against Cincinnati.
but he was coming back from
I
that
think they
injury
would've
with a
won.
broken foot. He'll be healthy this year.
In fact, they might have won if Derrick Henry didn't play, for my opinion, anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Robert,
Mac, I agree.
we talk a lot of things on Mac and Jack Sports, and one of the things we talked about at one time was in which sport does a coach / manager have the most influence? Say in the top 4, right? You got football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. We'll just throw them 4 out there.
Yeah.
What would be the order that you think the coach / manager has the most influence over a team?
Oh, well, I mean, hockey, that's a crapshoot for me. I don't know. But I'll say this, it's got to be the NFL. Here's a good example in the NFL. Speaking of the Rams, Jeff Fisher, Jared Goff was considered a possible bust with Jeff Fisher. Sean McVay takes over and they go to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be the NFL by a long shot. Bill Belichick is making $12 million. That's the most of any coach in professional sports. Now, NBA is second, $11 million for Greg Popovich of San Antonio. Maybe that's a bit overpaid now that they're not really playing that well. So I would definitely say second there. Check this out. Major League managers, Aaron Boone, he's making $1.3 million. You got the general manager in there telling him who to play, when to do the substitutions. The Major League Baseball's called it too much analytics. So I would say NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and I guess hockey would be 4th, but I don't know enough about NHL to really give you an educated answer.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. So let me give you an example, right? In the NBA, we talk about the players, the coaches really don't have that much power. And then you look at the Miami Heat, where the coach has all the power, and they're in first. They were in first place. They're heading maybe to a NBA championship, where the teams that had the players in power pretty much have fallen off. So maybe the NBA, maybe just as much, Robert?
You know what? I hope that the NBA goes to. I hope you would like to see, what is it, 30 teams? All 30 teams have the Miami Heat, Boston Celtics model where you're drafting players and management's got head coaches back and the players play. The coaches coach. The coaches are not general managers. The coaches coach. The general management and personnel people do their job. If everybody plays their role, you have a chance at success. It's just when people try to play other roles, when the players try to be the general managers, the Lakers, you have a disaster on your hands.
Okay. All right.
It'd be nice.
I don't disagree with what you're saying at all there. So you brought up the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs have been making a lot of moves this year with the draft. Last year, believe it or not, in the draft and free agent signings. They're always active. We think about Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey and all that stuff, but we don't see the kind of moves that GM is making over there to keep them very strong. And I think they had to do what they had to do this year because every team in that division could win that division this year. They've all gotten increasingly better. But the Chiefs have done certain things that the other teams haven't, right? They're not just going out and signing the big free agents. They're signing very smart draft picks, and they're moving up to get these draft picks. For instance, McDuffie, who could be a starter on any professional football team out there.
He's going to be the best play in the draft this year.
And the Chiefs went up and got him. I mean, what's going on over there, Robert?
The Chiefs, like I was saying earlier, Brett Veach, I mean, they got to get this guy tested out. He's the general manager, mental steroids here. Last year, let's go back to last year. Their offensive line falls apart. They got to do away with their left tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, their guard. So they go out and trade for Orlando Brown, by the way, who was a Pro Bowler last year. They trade a first, a third, a fourth, and a fifth for Orlando Brown, but they get a second-round pick back from Baltimore and a fifth-round pick. You know what they did with that second-round pick? They drafted Nick Bolton from Missouri. He led the team in tackles. And check this out, Jim. They brought in Creed Humphrey, the center.
Yes.
He was a home run. This guy played all 94 PFF grade from Pro Football Focus. Started all 17 games. To top that off, they get Trey Smith from Tennessee as guard. Played second most in the NFL snaps at that position. Now, he had blood clots. That's what pushed him back in the draft. He was the number one player out of high school. That's unheard of. And then this year, they did the Tyreek Hill trade, and people worried, well, they're going to fall off. They turn around and bring in Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster with Mecole Hardman, which I think can play the role of Tyreek Hill.
I do too. He's faster than Tyreek Hill.
He's faster than Tyreek Hill. And guys, check this out. We talk about their defense. 6 picks in the top 135. 5 were defensive players. So they are on a course to potentially go on a dynasty type run. My prediction is they'll get back to the Super Bowl within the next year, maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe both, because they're hitting so many home runs in the draft. They have reshuffled their offensive line, guys. They were 6th in the NFL, and according to Pro Football Focus, offensive line last year. Remember, they had an 18-point lead against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
If they didn't, if they weren't too cute or flashy, Mahomes, they would have been back in the Super Bowl after missing the Super Bowl or losing the Super Bowl, which is unheard of, other than the New England Patriots since 1994 salary cap. Only one team's done that, and they almost did it last year. So I like them to win the West, and Buffalo, as much as I like Buffalo, there's a chance they're going to get back there next year.
Yeah. Andy Reid might be one of the most underrated coaches in NFL history.
And they moved up to get Trent McDuffie in the draft. He's going to be outstanding. And it makes me wonder philosophies of a team. The Giants, for example, take Thibodeau, who's strictly, a pass rusher. He could be a big-time player, maybe. Who knows? But Trent McDuffie is so much more versatile. You can play him all over the field on defense. Sometimes you wonder philosophy. I rather have a guy I can move all over the field. And he's a great tackler too, McDuffie. So, I don't understand why he wasn't grabbed. He's going to be this year's Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
Well,
check this out. They make the AFC Championship game, and people are giving them an A+ in the draft.
Yeah.
Teams that go that far draft low, they're not supposed to get that. Understand your Jets.
Moore's receiver to fill in for Tyreek Hill.
Sky Moore, he doesn't have to play the role as a number one guy. He can ease into that situation. There's no pressure on Sky Moore with that second round pick. I think they're really primed to make a big run again. Unfortunately.
Robert, another excellent job, folks. You got to check out Sportscope with a K on Facebook, Twitter. I mean, Instagram. He's all over the place. Roku TV on Northeast Streaming Sports does a great job in his sports watch van, as you see during when he's got some highlights. But you got to check him out. Does this kind of work all the time. Robert, again, thank you for coming in as you do every Sunday.
All right, guys. Have a good show.
Have a good Sunday, Robert.
Yeah, man. You too.
So there you go, folks. Robert Butler from Sportscope. Jack again making fun of the Giants' first pick, Thibodeau, saying, why didn't they pick McDuffie when 22 other teams didn't pick him? But he has to pick on the Giants because he's a bitter Jets fan. And that's what that's all about, folks. But anyway, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Our first one, Jamie Pags, the Philly sports guy, is coming in backstage right now. So we'll have him up and ready to go for you right after these breaks. So, folks, please stick with us. And, of course, I'll play you these very important messages. We'll be right back after this.
When the job is done, this guy will be ready to dig into something mighty good to eat.
How do you handle a hungry man? The manhandlers.
One of the manhandlers is Campbell's vegetable beef. Gets a man-sized supper off to a good hot start. Good.
The manhandlers.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Goes presents Chester Cheetah.
I'm Chester Cheetah. I'm just a cool dude in a loose mood. Until I see those Cheetos. Then my cool turns to drool. My style and ease surrender to my urge for the snack that goes crunch. It's not easy being cheesy.
Cheetos cheese-flavored snack. Cheese that goes crunch.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma.
I love you too. Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
I heard you want to be Frito Bandito like me. You do? Then you must sing the Bandito song. Let's sing together. You just follow the bouncing Fritos corn chips bag. Ay, 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 ay. I am the Frito Bandido. I like Fritos corn chips. I love them, I do. I want Fritos corn chips. I'll get them from you. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, I am the Frito Bandito. Give me Fritos corn chips and I'll be your friend. The Frito Bandito you must not offend. Now, boys and girls, you are Frito Banditos too. You sing the Frito Bandito song and you look over crunchy Fritos corn chips. That's nice. Munch, munch, munchy bunchy Fritos corn chips.
If we talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Mac, Jack, and Jim This Week in Sports Show, live 8 to 10 every Sunday, as we bring you in the biggest guests from the network and outside the network to go over these topics and news items, if you will. And we're having our privilege every Sunday bringing on one of the best in the business, the Philly sports guy, Jamie Pags. How you doing, Pags?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning.
So Pags, we talked a little bit about the 76ers earlier, but you're the one with the ear to the ground over there in Philly. You hear the latest, you hear the rumors, the news, things going on. What's next for the Sixers, Pags? Coaches, players, trades, people moving around?
Who knows? Yeah, I'd love to say that I have actually real things to say. They gave Doc a vote of confidence, which was odd to me. That it looks like Harden is going to. He's got that $47 million that he gets to say yes or no to. I expect that he's going to say yes because he's not going to get $47 million anywhere else, and. It kind of looks like that the Sixers are going to have to go through free agency to rebuild their bench and hope to get enough people for veteran minimums or, to, not be a tremendous amount of money to rebuild their bench because there's a number of guys that have to go, I think. I think the Korkmaz experience is over. In Philly, I've watched him struggle, especially when the games matter. And he's just not consistent enough. When you look at other guys on the bench, I mean, there's as they call him, B-ball Paul. I think he stays, but I feel like losing Curry And I think that he comes back this year. Obviously, he doesn't have to stay with the Nets. He was a free agent, and oh my Lord, the center, the kid that went with them as well. I think he comes back because I think he liked being in Philly. Yes, Andre Drummond. I think he comes back because I think he enjoyed being in Philly. That being said, I mean, of course, money's going to talk, and Andre Drummond probably is going to get offered more money than just a minimum because he proved it. He proved his worth. That being said, if the Sixers could swing it, I'd like to see him back because he really was a great backup. And I think because Harden is going to be here, I think that having him on the court with Harden would that give and go stuff and getting underneath the baskets, all of the things that the Sixers did not do in this past series, like rebound the ball. They just were out rebounded offensively and defensively. I think that that's what they really need to address. Everything else is just heart, and I feel like that there was a lot of no heart in those last two games. In fact, I would say.
Pags, what do you think about Embiid's comments about Harden?
The hardest thing about going and having a press conference right after a game is that you never get to process anything about what it is you're about to say. You have to just say it right off the cuff. And you better be protective of what it is that you say. I feel that he was frustrated. I feel that he just lost another Game 7, lost in the second round of the playoffs again. Didn't matter whether it was Simmons or Harden or it could have been LeBron James. I think he would have been really frustrated, and he didn't get a chance to temper his reaction. He's saying that, hey, this guy is not the same guy that he was in Houston, and there are reasons for that. I think that everybody knows those reasons, and it's just, hey, Harden cares more about going out to the club than he does about taking care of his body. And that shows sometimes. Sometimes he's able to turn that switch on and even be great. Other times he's not. And when it's not, it usually falls into the times when it is the biggest moments. And that's, it's a shame, but
Pax, I think Harden was thought to be like bringing over and not counting how he is off the court, Kyrie Irving, that he's going to put up 30, 40 points for you. And that's just not who he is anymore. And if anybody's been paying attention to it, they would see that. I mean, he can put up 30 every now and then. But of course, he's not the scorer he was in Houston.
I don't think that. I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't believe that people thought that.
I think they did.
People thought he'd be much better than Ben Simmons.
From what I read,
that's what I believe. I believe they thought he'd be much better than Ben Simmons.
From what I read, Simmons didn't play, so I could have been much better than Ben Simmons. What I'm saying, though, is I think they thought they had two legitimate superstars on the court at the same time. That's what I read. So,
and that's part of the problem is that
this is what I'm saying.
I mean, so first off, I the media embellishes some. I think everybody knew here that Harden is not the Harden of old, and that obviously,
Max, last year he was just 1 year ago for the Nets. He had to play the point, but he was in serious contention to be the MVP just 1 year ago. He's declined greatly in a year.
Well, I mean, he's been hurt. I mean, I can make thousands of excuses on why he's not, and I can't, to be honest, I'm not James Harden, so I can't really, only he's going to know why he didn't. There were certain things that showed me in that last game that there was a lot of frustration centered around him. Maxey was frustrated, Embiid was frustrated, and I got to imagine that probably frustrated Harden himself. So, I mean, as we go forward, obviously he's going to be here for another year. We're not going to be able to trade him. We're not going to be able to get rid of him. There's not going to be anything that says one way or another that this team is going to change dramatically, other than the fact that he should have some time to have that hamstring 100% healed. And then we got to see. Then we got to see if there's any difference at Harden at 33 than it is at 32.
Then my next question is, with Embiid, there's a lot of injuries that he has in the crucial times. And I'm not saying they're his fault, but do you think he's going to continue to be the face of the organization?
Yes. Until somebody until Maxey takes it over, and I think in 4 years, 3-4 years, he will take it over.
I think more to Jim's point, is Embiid going to want to continue to be the face of the organization? Is he going to want out? If he sees an NBA title is not within sight next year, he might decide he doesn't want to be a 6 anymore. He's had enough. He wants to leave.
I don't think so. And I think because he likes it here. He is revered here. I mean, the only thing that's stopping him from getting his statue is a championship. So I think that Morey is the fact that they gave Doc a vote of confidence. It makes me wonder. I'm like, is this an Eagles move? Where they say, hey, everything is great, and then they cut him. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. So I almost wonder if he's playing chess while everybody's looking at a checkerboard. That being said, I can't say for certain how he feels. I can't imagine that there's anybody out there right now who is worthwhile enough to bring in as a coach to coach these guys short of Jay Wright. And I don't know that there is enough to go on with Jay saying, okay, can we talk Jay into coming out of retirement from college and go to the pro game? And how will coaching those guys equate to a pro game in comparison to a college game? Too many questions there and too many things left open-ended. That being said, I mean, this is a series that they should have won. The Miami, I didn't think was that great. But, in the games that they won in Game 5 and Game 7, the Sixers just look lackluster.
Listen, come on, Pags. Miami's a great team. I don't want to hear that. Miami,
they weren't over the top great. They were not over the top great.
Miami's first seed for a reason.
I agree.
They have a great defense. They got a great team. You got 2 or 3 maybe great players. You got 1 great player. That's what you got. Miami's got 1 great player and a great team behind them and a great bench. That's why I say don't take nothing away from Miami. I'm
not taking anything from Miami.
Hey, listen, Miami they were the number 1 seed. Miami
they were number 1 because no one cared to be number 1. It was all about resting up for the playoffs. They weren't going all out to be
it's
number
so scary when I
don't care why. I don't care why. They're a great team. I don't like people because they lost blaming their team for their loss. I mean, you got beat, and that's simple. And you got beat by the better team. Even if Embiid wasn't hurt, I don't know if you guys could have beat him.
Hey, you know what, Mac? The truth of the matter is that when I feel like I bring more effort to the game than the players that are on the court, I have a little bit of issue with that.
And
that showed. It showed in Game 5. It showed in Game.
Tax, you were at fault a little bit. You and a few of the others maybe didn't get on the heat enough. I kind of sensed that too. You should take some responsibility in the loss.
Well, I mean, I wasn't as close as I needed to be, and maybe I did. Maybe I should take a little bit of heat.
Wow. Bags, let's go to the Phillies. You guys just swept the Dodgers, man. I mean,
not yet.
Yes,
we got one more to go.
No, you won 3 games, right? Isn't
we got a 4th game today.
Play Sundays, Mac. The series doesn't end on Saturday.
Okay, that's right. I'm thinking it's Monday.
But how about that? Can't seem to hit the ball against any team that's got a below 500 record. All of a sudden, we go against the Dodgers, and the bats come out flying. We scored what? So far, I think we've scored 28 runs.
Something. I don't know, man. Against one of the best pitching staffs in the league. And Bryce Harper is just having fun hitting home runs, and your team is just scoring runs at will against the Dodgers. I mean, you're back to 500. Interesting, very interesting, Pax.
It amazes me, and then we'll come home. Well, we'll get to play the Padres, which I think we could win that series at home, and then play again against the Dodgers. And of course, we could win 5 of the next 7 games, and then we'll play the Marlins and get swept.
Yes.
I don't understand. And it's hard to kind of feel like what you're going to get out of this team. The one thing that does hold true is that their slugging percentage is top in major leagues. I think I think they're number 1 with the Yankees, a couple of percentage points behind them. So the Yankees slugging has been doing pretty well. I just wish the pitching was also strong enough to be able to handle this. That's what's going to come down to. I mentioned about Schwarber. Unfortunately, even with all of these runs being scored and whatever, Schwarber's still not at the plate doing well. He's batting just above or just around the Mendoza line. I feel that Castellanos is doing what he was supposed to do. I'm not sure if Schwarber is going to be somebody. I hope he turns it on as we get later in the season and he reverts back to what he did for Boston last year towards the end of the season, because ultimately this was the problem I thought when I thought initially when they were talking about getting him, that he's a career 240 hitter who happened to hit a lot of home runs last year. And that's what you're getting. And to give him that money, I didn't think that was a great thing to do. However, at that point, there wasn't anybody left in the market. He was the only one of any value, so to speak. So you brought him in. I mean, he's not been a defensive liability, so I can't really fault on that. Ultimately, he's not made any errors out in left field, and that's a good thing. That being said, though, it's I need his bat to start producing a little bit more. I also feel like they need a number 1 hitter. They need somebody to lead off. And do the
Phillies make any moves this year to solidify their pitching, or are they just going to go with what they got, you think?
Oh, they have to. They absolutely have to. I suspect that Rhys Hoskins is going to be a major chip in a trade. And I'm not sure if it's going to be for pitching or how they're going to come about it. But they've got a good first baseman in AAA and in AA. They actually got a little bit of a logjam at first base. And I feel that Rhys Hoskins is about the only worthwhile chip on this team that could get back something of value from another team. And I think that you're going to start to see, they're going to start to talk about pitchers from the Reds that are doing well. And that's where I would suspect, because the Reds, of course, are out of it already, it seems. They've only won, 8 games so far this season. So start to look at them, teams like that are really low, like it may be even Baltimore, since Baltimore happens to be right down the, 95, that they could start to look at pitchers from those teams and start to work out how are they going to get them on our squad. And to be able to do that, you got to give up something. So, didn't Votto play for the Reds for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, he still does. But in this day and age, teams.
Oh, I thought he played for the Yankees the way you guys keep talking.
You know what it is, Pax? Teams don't trade quality pitching for quality position players anymore. Pitching it's at such a premium. And I know Hoskins would be a wonderful pickup for any other team, but I just can't see them parting with any quality pitching.
No. And especially when you're a team that's only won 8 games, you have to deplete some of your AAA and AA group. You're going to have to give up some prospect.
But no, that they might do, but no one that would be able to help the Phillies this season. That's the point.
Oh no. I'm thinking that you're going to have to. You're going to trade prospects for a pitcher. It's not worth it to try to go get pitching for next year. You have to go after it this year. They have the hitting to do this, but is, as in playoffs, defense wins championships in every sport. And that's what pitching is. Good pitching is going to beat good hitting. And it doesn't matter how strong the Phillies are with their bats going into September and October, pitching is going to win out because that's what happens. So you're going to need the pitching to match. Now, there are certain things that I kind of see as a possibility as you get really late in the season. Could we get Cole Hamels in here and he be a guy who pitches in the bullpen, not as a starting pitcher? Possibly. I like that idea
That
of
won't
maybe
help
having
Cole Hamels.
Yeah, I mean, he's not anywhere. You can't have him start, but you could have him out of the bullpen. But what I like about that idea is that if you have him come in and pitch an inning, in the 7th inning or the 8th inning, obviously he's not going to be a closer, but he'd also be able to help the other guys with their pitches. I feel like that there isn't somebody in this bullpen right now who is able to help the guys master their pitches. And I feel like that's one of the issues that this staff has in general, that you have Nola, you have Wheeler, and those are the veterans. The other guys like Suarez and Eflin, you still look at them as young guys, even though they've been in the league for a few years now. They're still young, and they still feel like you could teach them something. And that's what I'm seeing. That's what I see with my eye, that they need a veteran presence who's able, like when Doc Holliday was here, he was able to help the other pitchers get better. He made his staff, the entire pitching staff, better because he would watch some of the mechanics, watch some of the small things that they were doing, and be able to help correct them. I don't feel that the Phillies right now have that with some of the pitchers, or with any of the pitchers right now, including the pitching coach. And that's where I feel like that there's something lost in that little bit. And I like guys that have won chips. You know what I mean? I want people on this staff who have won championships because they know what it takes to win the championship. And
so Pax, to give the Eagles a fair share here, the schedule came out. We pretty much knew who was playing who, but not at what time. So the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Commanders, they all have 4 of the 5 easiest schedules in the league, according to what experts say. And last year, and
it's like last year, right?
Yeah, last year, but it doesn't look like a heavy schedule. So Eagles, what do you think this year, Pags? Last year you made an unbelievable prediction that everybody laughed at you about. We even played the Twilight Zone on you a few times about. You got any thoughts about this year? Do you have an early prediction, or are you going to wait till the beginning of the season?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is make sure that my bed is ready, Jim, for Christmas, because obviously, it's like Christmas Eve that we decide that they're having us play the Cowboys.
That's right.
That's
exactly right.
Yeah, so I guess you're having one extra for Christmas dinner.
Okay.
But so. All right, if you want an early prediction that you're going to give me a Twilight Zone about, I have us right now at 11-6, with the possibility of a 12-5 record. But I will say with the caveat that this is all going to be off of Jalen Hurts. Hurts has got to be able to perform. He's got the weapons now. He's going to have to be able to perform at that elite level. And he's going to need to win 2 of those games. To be able to move from 9 to 11, you have to have wins that come from people that aren't your superstars. And he is not really considered a superstar yet. And he, by winning 2 of those games to go to 11 wins, that would be it. If
10
he doesn't
wins would be enough to win that division this year.
11 would be. 11 would be. I don't think that the Cowboys have it as well as they did last year. I feel that last year really is going to take a toll on them. I feel that their coach is not the best coach in the world, and he is a lame duck guy waiting for their defensive coordinator to get elevated to head coach. Wow. And I feel that there's a lot that's going to happen within the locker room. I asked Cowboys fans, and I guess let me, when back at the draft, Jim, if you had the ability to get a second-round pick for Zeke Elliott, would you have done that?
No.
There was a lot of people that felt the exact same way. And I feel that, one, Pollard's the better running back right now.
Mm-hmm.
And two, that I think that it would have been worth it for you to trade Zeke Elliott. And I know that Zeke Elliott's meant a lot to the franchise.
You just don't want to face Zeke Elliott twice a year, Pax. Let's be honest.
I understand that, but Zeke is not the guy that kills us right now. Zeke is not the guy that kills us. It's Pollard, the guy that
Jim,
beats us up right now.
wait, reassess your answer. Let me put the question another way. Considering what Zeke is making and there's a cap in the NFL, would you then have traded him for second-round pick? Because then you'd have more flexibility under the cap.
No.
Still wouldn't.
See, and I started
because
that.
he's going to be
that
important
question off
for
the
them
third-round
to
pick.
repeat as NFC champs, which they will. But he'll be important for them to repeat.
You know what's
I'm
very.
going to bet you a haircut on that.
What's very
That's
true.
fine. I want you to go bald.
What's very funny to me, and everybody makes fun of Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is the third winningest coach in Packers history, and he finishes ahead of Vince Lombardi, and I'm not sure about Curly Lambeau or not, but he's the third winningest coach in Green Bay history, and everybody ranks on this guy. Now, I don't know. I mean, I don't know McCarthy that well. I didn't follow his career. But while he coached at Green Bay always had a pretty competitive team and won one Super Bowl. And you all want to say, well, that's because of Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, whatever you want to say. All I know is the stats are what the stats are. And being a Dallas Cowboy head coach, he took them to the playoffs. So, make fun of McCarthy all you want.
But I don't. The playoffs one year. Let me take them to the playoffs another year.
Yeah, but the year they didn't was injured.
Let me tell you something that would serve Pags and Jim right. They arguing who's going to win the division, the Eagles or the Cowboys. That if Carson Wentz regains his form, and 1 year ago Washington was favored by many to win the division. And imagine Carson Wentz is his old self, and that Washington's defense gets it together. Because I don't know what happened.
That's really. It's not going to be on Carson. It's got to be on the defense. The defense has got to step up. If Washington wants to make any type of play for this division, and I'll be honest, I feel as a whole, the NFC East is going to take a big step forward. You're not going to see the team, all these teams, all four of these teams are going to be better. You're going to look at this kind of like 2 years ago with the West, where all of a sudden where are these teams coming from? Why are they so much better this year than they were last year? And I feel that a lot of the talent, a lot of the personal talent has gone over to the AFC, and you have these super, you have like the West and
the West was good. The Niners and Rams lost Super Bowls, but they got to the Super Bowl in these last.
No. I'm saying a couple years ago, the West came out of nowhere. Like they weren't expected to do a lot of things, and then all of a sudden they did. And I feel like that's what the East is about to do. The East is about to win a lot more games this year. We go up against the AFC South, which, when you take out the Titans, they stink out loud. And I don't care what the
Colts will be better with Ryan.
You think so? I think Ryan's done. I think Ryan was done last year. So, and I feel that I'm not worried about the Colts. I feel that division stinks. Then we have the, NFC North. And then you have Chicago, which is still trying to figure it out. Detroit, which is going to be better, but still trying to figure out. The Vikings, which are on the decline because I don't think Cousins is their guy, and they're stuck with him. And then you've got Green Bay, which for some reason or another, in the midst of everything else, the Eagles like to beat Green Bay.
Okay. So, Pags, we got to let you go. The only way I would be worried about the Commanders and Carson Wentz is if they got Foles to be their backup, and I would just pack it in right now. Anyway, folks, that
was a good one to leave on. See you later. Fly away, Pax.
That's the Philly Sports Guy. Have a great Sunday, Pags, and we'll get on with it. But always a pleasure having you on, Pags.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, folks. Folks, we got a special guest coming in right after these quick breaks here, quick notices. We have Coach Matthew Tomczewski, head coach of the Connecticut Falcons, that will being with us right after these messages. So please stick around.
Shaper is a one bit to have when you're having more than one. Shaper pleasure doesn't fade even when your thirst is done. The most rewarding flavor in this man's world for people who are having fun. Shaper is the one bit to have when you're having more than one.
Ever wonder what makes Schaefer the one beer to have when you're having more than one? One reason is more than one fermentation. Most brewers just ferment their beer once, but Schaefer is fermented twice. Once to make it beer, and twice to make it Schaefer. The one beer with flavor so fine, it keeps shining through glass after frosty glass. More than one fermentation is one reason, but of course there's more than one reason behind the one beer to have when you're having more than one.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, guess any.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac, Jack, and Jim This Week in Sports Sunday Special. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, and our other co-host, legendary player, coach also, Jim Jeffcoat of the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to bring up a special guest, guys, that I stay in touch with year-round, and so does Linda. One of our friends that he is the head coach of, well, he's new head coach of another team, but he still was the Connecticut Falcons, a team that we support on Northeast Streaming Sports. They're having a good year so far. Talk a little bit about the Falcons, what they're doing, and maybe he'll stick around with us the full half hour when we get into a little bit of sports talk. So let's bring Mike up, Coach Tomczewski, or Matt, I should say. Coach Tomczewski, the head coach of the Connecticut Falcons. How you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you? How are you? It's been a little while since we talked.
Yeah, it has been. Glad to see you. So the Falcons move into a new conference, the IFA, playing spring ball. How's it been going so far over there, Coach?
It's been going very well. We went into our game this past weekend undefeated in the league. We had a slight setback this weekend. We went up to New Hampshire, lost a tough game, but we're ready to rebound. We're going back to New York to play our final game of the regular season. We have the playoffs, the number 1 seed in the South, clinched. So we do have a home field game with a bye, and we're looking really to make a run. This league's a little different than the last league we were in that you covered us last year. We were down in the TFL, which is predominantly all in New York City. This league spans across the whole Northeast, so it's a lot more travel and a lot more logistics involved, and so it's a little more exposure for the guys, and we thought it was a good move, and it's proven to be a good move so far this season. We've had a real successful year.
You were even listed in the top 25 in the country for a while. Isn't that true, Coach?
As of the last rankings, we were still ranked top 25. I'm sure after this past loss, we might see a little drop in that. But at the end of the day, you can't stay nationally ranked until you win your league. So we're focused on winning our league, and the cards will fall where they go. And as long as we just keep winning, that's our motto. We're just going to keep winning every week, and that's our job. Slight setback this week, but the greatest of all teams, have a loss on the record most of the time. So we're just going to get back to it. It's football. It's not a game where you expect perfection every week. So get right back to work and fix the problems we've seen and get right back on the horse and do what we do.
What's been the biggest surprise for you this year, your offense or your defense, Coach?
On the defense. The defense has played tremendous. Going into this game, we allowed 8 points in 5 games. Wow. That our defense has been playing lights out. This past game, like I said, it was a slight setback. The defense was out on the field a little too much. We didn't perform on the offense to keep them off the field. The team held the ball for a lot of the game, ran the ball a lot on us, and it just kind of wore us down. So it was just it was a rough game for us, and we're ready to come back. But our defense has been playing lights out all year. One performance I do not hold against our defense. We've been scoring on defense, causing turnovers every game, and putting that pressure on the quarterback. So we're going to get right back to it this week coming up, and I expect another shutout from our defense.
So as you go forward into the playoffs, where do you need to improve? I mean, the playoffs is a different animal. The records are 0-0 normally when you get into their new season. I mean, you want to build on your regular season, of course, but any things that you can, improve on, or any things that you can adjust going in, because you've seen all these teams at least once, so you do have now game film on them and what their weaknesses are and what their strengths are, as opposed to your weaknesses and strengths. So what do you look at going into playoffs? Are you looking at matchups, player versus player, scheme versus scheme, or are you're just going to run your best and stop us?
Yeah, I'm huge into matchups. That's big for me. But to me, I think our key moving forward, our success is getting started early. We tend to sometimes wait till it's too late to put our foot on the gas. And I think, that's something we really need to get together. We have a couple bye weeks because we have the Memorial Day weekend off, and then we have our first round of the playoffs bye because we clinched first. So I think after this game in New York, we can really, get to work on attacking first and getting out there first, and, really playing at 100 miles an hour from that first whistle to the final whistle.
Well, as you know, we're going to be throwing a benefit for Connecticut Semi-Pro Football, especially your team, coming up here 27 June. Both Jim and Jack will be there signing autographs and talking to the players and trying to help out any way they can. How's your team, responding to this?
We have a lot of veterans. So, a lot of these guys are, they've lost games before and still won championships. So they, we have a lot of championship pedigree guys that have been to the big dance before. They know what they're doing. And they really have all kind of rallied together and basically shook this one off. We're obviously going to figure out what we did wrong, but we're not going to dwell on it. We're going to look at it, see what we did
talking-
wrong, make our adjustments, and go from there.
I'm talking, Coach, about the benefit coming up.
Oh, we'll be there. We'll be there.
Okay, you got designated players. Will you be there? Will
I'll
the
be
owner
there.
And how's the fans and the team respond to this? Are they getting excited about it or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anytime we get people, to support us or show us any light, we're more than happy. Semi-pro does get neglected a lot. A lot of people don't really look at it. They think it's more like a pickup game, and there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of organizational behind it. And like I said, especially when you're playing in a league like the IFA, a lot of travel, logistics you got to deal with. We rented vans, drive the vans up, and I mean, it's just a lot that goes into it. So anytime we can get some support and help, we love it, and we're enthused about getting there and coming out. And I mean, get to meet a NFL great himself, that's going to be there support. I mean, that's huge for us. So, we'll definitely be there. We don't have designated players as of yet. I mean, I'll be honest, we'll probably have a ton of players there. I mean, I would expect the majority, any player that's not working, I expect would probably be there, so it's, it's definitely a good opportunity for us. And we definitely thank you for your support all the time.
Has the nature of the game changed in semi-pro on the field? Has it become more of a passing game such as the NFL has become?
Yes and no. I mean, you still have your teams that still run a lot, run the ball a lot. I mean, the team we just played this past week, they played an H-back set. They were not out in spread. They were running the power, running the counter. They were running the ball. And there's certain teams that stick to that, and that's what they do, and that's what they do best. But yes, the league has moved a lot more to a spread team. Everybody likes the spread, right? You got to get the ball to guys the ball in open space. And a lot of these guys are coming out of high school from playing the spread, coming out of college from playing the spread. So it's just it's a faster paced game now, it seems. And then when a team can kind of control the ball with the run, it makes it exciting. So where the pass used to be the exciting thing, now it's kind of exciting to see a team that can go out there and just dominate the run game all game because it's not really expected anymore.
Right.
So Mac would have been very successful in this because he was a passing quarterback. So he would have been very successful.
Well, I don't know about that, Jim.
Mac could have only played in the wishbone. That's about it.
I was
the highest level.
I did throw the ball, but I was in the option run offense more than
Oh,
anything.
okay.
But I did. My best year was 20 touchdowns, so I can throw
See,
the ball.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
So, but that was my best passing year. So we want you to stick around, Matt. We're going to go through some more of the sports that we do at the end of extra, the half hour that we kind of come together. You willing to stick with us through this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So I want to get to boxing a little bit, Jack. Frank Latirzo, your co-host, predicted Charlo to beat Castano. Me and you went with Castano. Charlo stops him in the 10th round. You said you watched it. Was it just Charlo overpowering Castano?
No, Frank was right. I got to give him credit. I mean, the pattern of the fight went the way the first fight did, except Charlo took it up a little level. He kept Castano a little more on the outside, tagged him on the way in. I mean, really fast-paced fight. It looked like Castano was coming on in the middle rounds, and the fight would turn in his favor. But Charlo, stuck with him, and eventually the pace took more of an effect on Castano, and then Charlo hit him a big left hook in the 10th round. And, Castano went down. He was hurt, and Charlo finished him. Great win for Charlo. You got to give him the credit. Now, this sets up an interesting scenario, Charlo being a junior middleweight. Terrence Crawford's a welterweight, and I just don't think Errol Spence is fighting him next. I think Errol Spence is going to go in with Keith Thurman despite all the talk. Charlo and Terrence Crawford would be a real high-profile fight. I mean, if boxing wanted to do it right, have a doubleheader, let then Spence fight Thurman, Crawford fight Charlo on the same show, and I don't want to say let the winners fight, because Charlo and Spence, if they did emerge victorious, they're stablemates and close friends. They wouldn't want to fight. But that would be an excellent fight, Crawford and Charlo. That would be like a nice consolation prize if the Spence fight didn't take place.
Well, Frank brought up the point, and Ennis also disposed of his opponent, I think, in 2 rounds. He said that if Crawford and Spence don't make this fight, Ennis is coming. And Ennis could beat either one of these guys. So I should say has a real good shot to beat either one of these guys. Doesn't Frank have a point that this would be a huge, maybe the biggest payday in Crawford's and Spence's history, and not to make the fight would be foolish on their part?
Yeah, it would be, but you have to consider the promotional entities. The PBC, Al Heyman's group, they promote Spence. Why would they want to put Spence in with Crawford and risk Spence losing and getting him knocked off and then having no options on Crawford at all to promote him? So they would rather keep it in-house, match Spence against Keith Thurman. And this way you basically get to control all the money, as opposed to having to settle with Crawford, go outside your realm. Think of it as revenue sharing. If you could keep all the money yourself and you don't have to revenue share, why would you want to revenue share? Unless you absolutely have to. The only reason Pacquiao eventually fought Mayweather, it took 5 years for it to happen. It was 5 years too late. They had nowhere else to go. So maybe after Spence beats Thurman, he has nowhere else to go. So they feel, now's the time to make a Crawford fight. And you wonder about Charlo last night. Who's he going to fight next? That's why Crawford might be viable, that they might be willing to take that chance and let Crawford, and maybe work out a deal with Crawford saying, if you beat Charlo, you'll get Spence next. So in that roundabout way, the PBC has a promotional option on Crawford.
Okay, all right. The big news, of course.
A question real quick. I was out last week, but Canelo, were you shocked on that fight?
No, not shocked. It was like a surprise. No, it wasn't a shock. I said it would be about 6 rounds apiece, and no one thought Bivol would get a decision in a fight that would be a truly very close fight. But it wasn't a very close fight. Bivol won with a little room to spare. It wasn't a shock. You could go back to the tapes, Mac, and look at it. Don't say it.
He picked Canelo, and so
everyone picked Canelo to win.
I picked Bivol to win that, Jim. Just to let you know,
Mac, you're always picking the guy who's the underdog every fight automatically.
Not every fight.
The Giants to win the NFC East next year, and if they somehow. You do it each year, and when they finally do it, and then 8 years from now, you're going to be bragging.
He's the only one who picked the Kentucky Derby, right?
Thank you.
Exactly, Mac.
Thank you. So, the big news, of course, DeAndre Hopkins came up this week where he gets suspended, for 6 games. The Cardinals are in trouble with Murray not contract signed. Coach, do you have those kinds of problems with some of your players where, you've got to rein them in and maybe you got to have them take a couple games off because they just get too carried away about certain things they're doing?
We do have clauses in our contracts that, we do have the right to do that if needed. A lot of these guys, they're paying out of their pocket to come play. They're not getting paid money. They know that they don't want to. So we rarely have to enforce it, but if it needs to be enforced, then the guy needs to be, sat down for a week so he can, center himself back on and get focused back on football. We'll do what we have to do, but we really try to let these guys kind of, work it through themselves because football is really their outlet. These guys are paying to play. Nobody's forcing them to be there, type of thing. So, but yeah, if something's detrimental to the team, absolutely, we'll sit a guy down.
Yeah, Coach, Jim has witnessed this many times in the NFL and when he was coaching as well. How do you deal with the I guys, the receivers, the I guys, who just keep wanting the ball thrown their way, especially in semi-pro, because some of these guys still have dreams of going to the NFL, and this is their chance to somehow get to another level. It's just that And if the ball isn't coming their way, they're like ranting and raving on the sideline. How do you deal with guys like that?
Oh, I mean, it really depends on the guy. You know, every guy you got to kind of deal with differently. You know, so, some guys, you know, you can really snap them into, hey, I don't care. We're winning. You can talk to them directly. I don't care. We're winning. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. Other guys, you know, you got to talk to them like, look, yeah, you're open in this situation, but you got to explain the game to them because it's tough for a receiver, right? They're running down the field. They know they're open, but they don't know what's going on in the backfield. They don't know what's happening to that quarterback in his face. They don't know that he was flushed the other way and he can't even look that way anymore. Like they're running their route. So to them, they're open. And, you know, you got to kind of bring them back and let them know, look, the quarterback knows you're open. You know, let's get over there. Let's figure it out. You know, why isn't it working? Right. So we do a lot of, you know, after plays, getting together as a group, you know, quarterback, receivers, line, the guys getting together and, okay, where did that come from? You know, what are you seeing out there? What am I seeing? And trying to get all on the same page because, you know, we don't have the luxury of, you know, like a college or a pro team where we can be together every day, right? These guys work all the time, right? We're lucky we get a practice or two off a week, right? So it's really about staying in communication through, you know, thank God social media chats and all of that, but we're able to stay in communication that way. And then when we're out there, it's really just trying to keep the guys bought into the team aspect because today might not be your day, but, you know, next week you might have 6 catches for 170, you know, so it all depends on, you know, what we're looking at. And we just try to keep all the guys, you know, together as a group. And, you know, it's tough at times, but, you know, we have a great group of guys at the end of the day. And it all comes down to that too. I mean, if you put good guys on the team, you know what to expect from them.
Well, let me ask, and this be directed to Jim as a coach and you coaching at semi-pro level. I mean, you want your guys to be cocky. You want them to think they're the best player out there. I mean, that's the kind of confidence you got to play with, playing really at almost, I would say, from the high school level up. If you're going to be really good, you got to think you're the best ball player at that position on that field, any game you're in. And sometimes you're just not. Sometimes you got to do things. You've got to hold your own. Sometimes you've got to do extra things that may not put you in the spotlight. What would you do in that case, Jim? And you too, coach, to a certain extent, where you got a guy that can dominate most teams when he's out there, but he goes up against that one guy that either has his number or is just as good as his position, if not a little bit better. I mean, he's got to get frustrated. So what do you say to this guy during them points? First, you, Jim.
First, you have to play with confidence, no question about it. And there's a difference between confidence and cockiness. You play with confidence because you're prepared for this situation. So when you face a player who has the same ability as you do, you always look at it and say, basically, who executes the best has got the advantage. So that's what you do. You use your techniques, you use your skills, but you know there's Eagles, so you have to make sure that you understand what your responsibility is and how to make yourself effective in that game, because it's going to be technique and skills.
And you, coach, I mean, again, you know, not the same level, but same principle, right? You got a guy on your team that's outstanding during almost every game, and then he goes up against this guy who's just as good as he is, maybe even a little bit better. Do you make adjustments with him during the game so he doesn't get frustrated, so he doesn't, you know, all of a sudden end up in a fight or something that hurts the team?
Yes and no. So it really depends on the game. So sometimes I'll use it to our advantage, right? So if there's a guy where, you know, they know that this is the guy that they expect is going to hurt us, and if it's a skill guy and they want to double team them all game, they want to put guys over the top, they want to, you know, stay physical, I'll just go backside all game because that's one-on-ones. So we'll use it to the advantage that way. But then we try to get our guys in the best matchups. I have no problem moving guys around, motioning guys around. You know, we're constantly trying to put the defense in stress on, especially on the offensive side, And then on defense, like if a guy's struggling, like we'll adjust the game plan, right, to give him a little help, right? So if a guy's getting beat on something short, you know, maybe we'll leave somebody in that hook to curl to help him out, you know, something like that. But I mean, the guys really, they're able to hold their own more than not. It's more about just keeping their mental straight, because that's the main thing. If you get beat and you're not expecting to get beat, and then you get up for the next play, if your mental's not straight, you're going to continue to get beat and frustrated. So we really try to keep the guys' mental straight and really go over, okay, how are they beating you? You know, this is how they're beating you. Okay, well then that means they're weak in this aspect. And what we'll try to do is adjust the game plan to make it work and put our guys in the best position. Because at the end of the day, as coaches, we want to put our players in the best position to succeed.
Exactly.
Hey, Jim, have you ever, like, for instance, say you got a dynamite defensive tackle, right? And he lights out all games, and he gets up against a guy from another team that just has his number. I mean, he's a great offensive tackle. Do you ever bring help in, like, for instance, blitz that gap more, or maybe bring in the defense in tighter, move the tackles down one slot, just to upset that little bit of edge he has?
Yeah, and Coach said this. Coach said it is right. You move the player and try to find matchups. You move that player. If he's like Aaron Donald does it all the time, he moves positions because they're trying to get matchups that are better for him. And you do that with them. You might bring a linebacker to get him the one-on-ones and take away some of the double teams, so you can use your player's abilities to make him more effective.
Okay, there you go. See, listen, you know, I always thought coaching, of course, you got different talent at different levels, different speeds at different levels, but basically the principles are all the same. And I know that, you know, the individual matchups is what makes the team overall a matchup problem for the other team, and the give and take, and the schemes that are built around certain players, and maybe adjustments you got to make at halftime, or even on the fly sometimes when you're really getting your butt whipped on a player, or you're getting your butt whipped on a pass rush. So, I mean, to credit coaching and football, and I think all sports in general, you can outcoach the other coach. And when you see that happen, and me personally, Jim, Jack, Matt, when I see that team on paper is a lot better than the other team, but that other coach just knows how to use his players and his scheme a little bit better, that's when them upsets, they call them upsets. They're not really upsets, but that's when the game changes around. Exactly. And that's when I love to see the teams on paper that aren't supposed to win the games. And that's why some teams are just so much better than others, because we all put our pants on the same way. And that I've always believed that. So that's it for today's show, folks. I want to thank all our guests today. They've been great, all the way from Keith to Pags to Robert to Coach Tom Chesky here. And I always have a blast having Jack and Jim on. We have a ball doing this show. We've got a lot of views today, a lot of comments. Thank you all for joining us today. You have a great Sunday. Check out the Falcons home Facebook page at the Connecticut Falcons. Check out Jim and Byron Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on Talking Shop. Jack will be up with Frank tomorrow on Glove Stick. And as you know, the Mac and Jack show is on Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. Everybody have a great Sunday. And
have a great Sunday.
Great playoffs today. Have a great one, guys.
All right.